And I think we're live. Welcome everybody. Jam, happy Friday. Up for another stream with builders from the ecosystem. Today we have Bruno from Katana and Polygon. I think you're across both, right, mate? If I remember correctly.
Hello, and thank you for having me. No, I'm not anymore across both. I am phasing out of Katana slowly because we are doubling down on Polygon, at least for me. And the legend Billy Jitsu, whom you may know from everywhere, has joined Katana as full-on DevRel. So he's going to be leading it, taking over from me. And basically, this is my saying goodbye to the starter kit that we're just going to explore today.
Oh, what a moment. I'm pleased to be part of it now. I don't know if you remember that when we first met was Bangkok at the stand in the main center. I came and walked up to you. I don't know if you remember that at all.
I do not. I don't remember. But my memory in general is shit. My facial memory is even shitter. So so don't take it the wrong way.
Yeah, not at all, man. You're good. So so today we're going to be talking with Bruno about Katana. In a minute, he can explain a little bit more about that, and specifically about deploying Katana apps in a decentralized way on REO Network and Arweave name system. So for those of you that do not know, REO Network is an effort it's called the first permanent cloud network. It's an effort to decentralize the storing, indexing, and access layer for data and applications built on top of Arweave. And the piece today that's important for this conversation is we have a domain name system called Arweave name system. And this allows you to associate any data stored on Arweave with a human readable name. So that could be a static site, as we're going to be doing today, or any other kind of data. And then you can access that name, as a subdomain of gateways in the network. So there's about 650 odd gateways. So you kind of get this complete story of decentralized front ends where you have the front end stored on Arweave, but you have this resilient access layer because there's all of these gateways where you can access the domain, and it's essentially impossible to take them all down. So, Bruno, Katana's obviously relatively new. I know it's been going for a little while, and I know it's got some quite novel concepts. If you could, it would be awesome for the audience to kind of explain a little bit more about what Katana is and what's unique about it, and why folks should be excited.
Yep. So Katana is a sector-specific chain. And by that, I mean, it's really focused on DeFi as a sector. It's not particularly targeting, it's not an app chain, but it's not a general purpose chain, but it is sector specific. With that come some opinions. So it's an opinionated chain that wants to really make it the home for DeFi with the yields and the liquidity depth and everything good that you like and love in DeFi. How does it do that? By having opinions on which apps to put front and center. So generally, when you have a new general purpose chain, you'll see immediately what happens immediately. Immediately, somebody makes insert chain name punks. Immediately, somebody forks Uniswap and calls it something else, and then pretends they invented the DEX on the chain. Yeah. Immediately, so all of the copies of things that already exist elsewhere start popping up. And then as people realize that a token launch of a copy did somewhat well, more copies appear. Within a matter of a few weeks, what you have is a bunch of DEXs and a bunch of lending protocols that are just copies of whatever exists elsewhere, but with a much lower liquidity and fragmented liquidity and much shallower depth. Basically unusable DeFi system, right? Because you have a lot of slippage. You can't even bridge without a lot of slippage, let alone swap on the chain. As soon as you try to swap anything that isn't the main token, and sometimes even the main token, you end up with 5, 10, 15, 50% slippage, which is just makes the chain unusable, really, and unattractive.
Yeah, we've seen that happen quite a few times.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of par for the course. It's going to keep happening for as long as new chains keep appearing. It's not... It is, how did it go? Not once did from the crooked timber of mankind a straight board or whatever being crafted.
Yeah, I know why Billy must have been interested now, because he's very much a DeFi. I don't necessarily want to call him a degen, but I know he loves it, so I can understand why he was so interested now.
Exactly, yeah, he's full in, and so So what Katana did was Katana put some apps front and center, some protocol front and center, so that we have one DEX, one lending protocol, one of each things, and then all of the incentives of the chain. And so the chain has this concept called the chain-owned liquidity, where you have basically the 3-3 meme, but on a chain level, where essentially the more people use the chain, sequencer fees, all the other fees, protocol fees, yield, like AUSD, the official like stablecoin on Katana, is earning yield from treasury bonds, and then that yield is also going to the chain. And so all of that liquidity going into the chain is being distributed to those applications that can then distribute it to their users. So you have like this flywheel, this positive feedback loop of very few applications controlling this liquidity of the entire chain, but then being able to really reward their active users. And the idea is to just get people to be active in DeFi. And the more active you are, the more of a slice of this chain-owned liquidity pie you can get.
Can I ask a question? And I don't know how much you'll love this question, but how does it compare against something like Berachain? Because I know that they have like their own novel mechanisms, and it's around proof of liquidity and so on. And
Yeah,
I don't know if there's any overlap or.
there's a little bit of overlap, and the lessons from Berachain and lessons from Blast have been taken to Katana and applied by taking into account what made those things fail.
Yeah.
So for example, here you will not see, there is a governance element to this. For example, like the curve of gauges, but you will not give 100% of the control of those gauges to the community, because that was a mistake. Like, for example, if you give 100% of the control of the emissions to the community, they will just put all of those emissions to a pair of shitcoins that they invent, and then just collect all of those. And this is what happened, right? These lessons are just, this is an evolution of those two chains, of the principles from those two chains, with this opinionation on top. So in effect, it's very similar in the kind of flywheel dynamics that it wants to accomplish, but it has safeguards against the common failure methods that hit those chains. So this is basically how they're approaching it.
Nice. And obviously it's coming.
I should mention also there is Vault Bridge as a very important part of this puzzle. So Vault Bridge is the way to bridge into chains by getting yield on the bridged funds on their origin chain. So when you're bridging funds from, say, ETH into Katana, the funds that are on ETH are not just going to be locked in a static contract and waiting there. They will actually be getting yield, and that yield will also be teleported into Katana.
Smart.
So essentially you don't have passive bridged assets, you have active bridged assets, which are further contributing to the yield, to the boost on Katana, and then again feeding into chain-owned liquidity, which then can also boost incentives for everybody in there.
Yeah, very cool. It's really interesting seeing, like, as we all like learn and deploy these systems and learn from our mistakes and learn from what worked, kind of like the mechanisms that you can build. So I'm really excited to kind of see where it goes. I'm super bullish that you brought Billy on board. He's a friend, so I'm biased, but I think he's an awesome guy too. So shout out to Billy, and for anyone in the Katana ecosystem that doesn't know Billy, at least my experience with him has been brilliant. So I know that you are also quite a well-opinionated guy around the importance of decentralization, and you have a concept that you've spoken a lot about called progressive centralization. So, and this kind of falls into what we're talking about today, I think, in the ability to, what we're going to be demonstrating, to deploy Katana dApps on Arweave name system and make them decentralized. And I know that kind of plays into that whole narrative. So we maybe don't need to dig into it like it's super in depth, but do you have like a way to kind of share that vision or perspective you have on progressive centralization and how it kind of fits in here?
Yeah, progressive centralization just means that everything starts as crap, but works.
Yeah.
So you start off by making your app absolute garbage and hard to use, but indestructible. So indestructible garbage gets upgraded to
less indestructible garbage.
Yes, centralized divinity. So you have let's say you have a dApp of some sort, and you have a smart contract for it, and you have a UI for it. The way to make it completely indestructible is you have the UI hosted on a decentralized service like Arweave, and then you have the contracts on a decentralized blockchain, preferably.
Yeah.
Those two combined give you the indestructible garbage. It's hard to use. You have to kind of sometimes, click here, click there, wallet approve, sign, blah, blah. Lots of complexity in using it, perhaps, and it's maybe slower to load the data because there's no indexer behind the scenes, no caching, and so on. But you end up with a system that nobody can tell you to take down. This is step one. Then you layer on top any kind of convenience methods that you want. So you want social login, no problem, slap Privy on top. You want faster loading, no problem, slap GraphQL on top, do queries faster. You want a DNS resolution for social media images or whatever, no problem, slap a centralized domain on there. But always start with indestructible garbage, because if you try to go the other way, if you build a smooth app and then try to build in decentralization, that never ever happens. There has never once in the history of Web3 been a project that started centralized and became decentralized. Even though they all promise it, it has never once happened.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's very ethos aligned with Arweave as well, really, just at a high level. Like everyone in the Arweave ecosystem, I guess maybe sometimes all of us a bit, maybe too much in some ways, extreme strong supporters of decentralization first. And if you do anything undecentralized, like, you're going to get questioned about it quite quickly. So I think that concept will resonate quite a lot with folks. And I know that you did a talk on this, right? There was a YouTube I watched a little bit of, so maybe we can share that in the notes afterwards for folks.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Who are interested. So, okay, so as part of the tooling for Katana developers, I think you and maybe some others in the team created the sort of development starter kit, and that is Special K, right? And that's what we're going to be looking at deploying to Arweave name system today.
Yep. So Special K is, we will not be deploying Special K itself. We'll just be deploying a front end built with and for Special K. Special K is just a kind of, let's call it compilation of contexts around development on Katana. So if you want to get started developing with Katana, you can just use it like any other EVM chain. It's literally cookie cutter EVM chain. There's no added technical details. There's no feature disparity with any other EVM chain. It's just the same. But you can get started much quicker by using Special K. And Special K has, it's a collection of all the ABIs, contract addresses, explainers about these contract addresses, convenience methods, all sorts of tooling that is hopefully intuitive to use, so that you can get up and running and start working on functionality for your app in less than 5 minutes, rather than fiddling around with bootstrapping and figuring out how to make it work before you actually start writing code. So for hackathons, which I'm especially passionate about as DevRel, this is great because people can walk up to your booth and walk away ready. And this is the most important part. And so here what we'll do is we are going to just pull that bootstrap in, build it, and then through just a convenience command, make sure that the front end is hosted in a decentralized way. And this is what helps you make those indestructible garbage apps.
I love it. Okay, cool. All right, well, let's take a look at the repo first. And I'm going to drive today, folks. And I think this may be the first time I've ever done a deployment live on stream, so you'll have to forgive me. So here is the starter kit. Can you see my screen, Bruno?
All good, all good.
Awesome. So yeah, so as you were saying, it's kind of like an all bells and whistles kit, right? And I know that you've got some, I don't know if you want to talk through what's in here, but I know that you've got some like neat features around MCP servers for Foundry and things like this to make it really approachable for developers.
Yes. So this is quite well optimized for LLM environments. So if you're using Cursor or any kind of Claude local or Codex or whatever, this has all the context your LLM might need to help you develop here. So it will be aware not only of which contracts exist, where they are, which ABIs they have, how to build UIs for them, and so on. So you can just say, build me a UI for this and this contract, and it'll just spin it up. But also, it has the Foundry MCP server inside built in, which means that your LLM environment can actually instantiate new copies of the live Katana chain locally on your drive. So you can actually develop in production locally without spending your money. So it generates 10 accounts with infinite ETH. And those can then be used to run any smart contract that you write, while also taking advantage of the deep liquidity of Katana, because the entire state of the chain is copied over. So you can actually play around with the full DEX liquidity and depth and full loan contracts, everything that's on Katana will be on your local version of the chain when it's spun up like this. And this has the extra added advantage of you being able to tell the LLM, if you have an environment that allows you to run long-running agents, to, like, for example, let's say that you've built a contract that does some sort of loan arbitrage between Morpho and something else. And then you can actually tell the LLM, deploy this contract, test it for edge cases, and keep running edge case scenarios until you either find a bug and report it, or write a report of kind of like a full audit report of it being bulletproof. And so you can just leave it running overnight, and it will know that it can spawn its own chains, tear them down on demand, spawn new ones, and keep retrying without any kind of cost to you, except the time it takes for the agent to do this. So you have literally kind of like a team of blockchain experts at your disposal here.
I love it. It maybe doesn't give me the confidence to deploy Solidity codes entirely like vibe coded, but I love that like stuff like this is becoming much more approachable for developers, and the tooling is getting crazy. We're currently looking at doing something similar. It's like, how do we present our stack to developers in a way where they can just get moving really fast and have all of this tooling around it. So, okay, cool. So what we're going to be focused on today is part of this, as Bruno explained, there's an example DApp in this repo, and I can actually show you the deployment here, but just really briefly, what is the DApp and what does it do? What are that we're deploying here?
So this basic DApp is just an example UI that connects to your local version of the Katana chain. And then, so this one fails because this is just a front end hosted on Arweave. So there's no blockchain to which it would connect.
Cool.
All we need to do to make it work is just to replace its RPC to, let's say, live Katana. So the demo app is just reading from the chain to show you that it can actually read the state of the contracts and give you all the information that is the same on the production Katana.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. Okay, cool. So, I mean, there is a full guide for how to do this, which we can share afterwards. I'm going to sort of jump through bits of this and just kind of explain at a high level of how this is all working. But we'll look at the repo first. So the output of this app is a static build, right? And it allows you to kind of deploy it anywhere where you can host static files. And one of those places is Arweave, right? Arweave is a storage protocol, a layer 1 storage protocol. You can think of like Bitcoin for data. It focuses on one thing, and that is storing your data for a very, very long time. And then on top of that, we've built Ario Network, which is kind of the decentralized access layer for this. So what we've done to enable this integration is there is an ecosystem tool in our ecosystem called permaweb-deploy, and this wraps 2 SDKs. So one is called the Turbo SDK, which is our SDK for uploading data to Arweave. The other is the RAO SDK, which is also our SDK, but it is, at least in this scenario, it's used to control how we assign the deployments made by Turbo to the Arweave name, and then, excuse me, basically update that so it kind of resolves. And people might be familiar with this pattern from like ENS and eth.limo. It's similar, but different in terms of you get that kind of decentralized access layer. You can plug this into kind of any application or website or whatever you want that outputs a static build file, and you kind of get this experience where you have the name. And we went to, I will probably try a different website just to kind of demonstrate this, but if I go to docs.ar.io, so in this scenario, this is an Arweave name, and this is a gateway. So if I go here, it'd be funny if this didn't work, but because it's our docs, you get our docs website, right? But if you go to any other gateway in the network, so most people are familiar with arweave.net, you get exactly the same app, right? And I can do that 600 times for every gateway in the network. So what we're doing with the integration for permaweb-deploy with Katana is we're giving that functionality in a really nice, easy way for developers to be able to deploy their static DApp to an ArNS name, host it, and make it available in the way that we just showed as a subdomain of gateways. So why don't we open up our code editor somewhere? I got to make sure I'm not sharing any sensitive information here. And we can kind of talk about this a little bit. But the description I gave there, Bruno, that made sense for you? You had any questions or?
Yeah, that makes total sense. That's how I imagined it working as well. Careful with the screen sharing so that there's no naked girlfriends. It happens in Web3.
yeah, exactly. Or some Elon Musk animated naked girlfriends. So you'll see here, permaweb-deploy can be used in a few ways. So you can deploy it via CLI commands, and that's what we'll be doing today. But you can also deploy it via GitHub Actions, and this is generally our recommended way because it's a bit more secure with managing secrets in GitHub secrets. But the TLDR, as I said, of what it's doing is the local repo is going to build with a sort of the standard build output command that is shipped with special K starter kit. And then we're going to basically push that build into permaweb-deploy, which is going to upload it. And we're going to give it the ArNS name that we want to deploy it to and the signature type that we're using. So in this case, we are using EVM wallet signatures to fund the upload and also own the name and sign the message to associate the upload with the name in Ario network. So we're going to be doing this on testnet just because it's easier and cheaper. And I'm going to do this off screen because I need to put in some private keys, but I will show you the command afterwards. And once this is working, I will bring it up on screen as well. Okay, cool. So what's happening here is the special K sort of build command is running. And I don't know if you want to explain kind of what we're seeing here, Bruno, in terms of the stuff that's being built.
Yeah, so this is only necessary when you download it for the first time and you run build all. Build all will basically take all of the contracts that are in here, and from them it will generate the ABI, so the application binary interface that you need to very easily be able to connect web apps to your smart contracts. This is a one-time operation. You only have to run this once. Further, in the future, you can just run build without build all. This also builds the MCP server and everything else that you might need. It generates some shortcut methods, some shortcut files, some context files that the LLM can reference to find where each contract lies and what it's about. It just generally prepares the kit for future use, and future like build processes are like a second or two.
Nice. Awesome. Okay, cool. And then, yeah, just the last step of this is kind of where permaweb-deploy comes in, right? So what permaweb-deploy has is it's taken the build file that's been generated here with Bruno's original work on Special K. It has uploaded every single individual file in that build file to Arweave, and then it has created basically a manifest JSON file. And that manifest JSON file organizes all of that data. So it will have basically a structure which shows the paths of the application and then all of the assets that are loaded in, and it will put the individual transaction hash for every individual item of data that's been uploaded for the site into the manifest. And then that manifest itself, the JSON is uploaded to Arweave, and that is what we get back here. And then we take this transaction ID, we associate it with the name, and then in sort of no time at all, you get the static site deployed and resolved onto this name. And if we go back to the browser, if I can find it, we go Special K and we're on testnet, so it only works on one gateway in this instance. But if we go to ar.io.dev, which is our testnet gateway, we should see, fingers crossed, there we go. Cool. So it's really simple. That's it, really. Like, I think we do have a actual, if I can type it in correctly, specialk.arweave.net. I think I deployed this to mainnet as well. Yeah, exactly. So we can go here, we can go here, and then you can go to gateways.ar.io, and there are, and this itself is an ArNS app. It's completely decentralized. You can do the same thing. And there are sort of 650 gateways in this list where we could go and do that with. It's pretty straightforward. The guide goes through this really well. So the command that I ran in the CLI kind of off screen before I showed you was this. And this is just like an easy way for me to run it locally. But typically what we would advise is you use GitHub secrets, and then the build commands that we were looking at here, you would normally not have testnet there if you're not using testnet. and it would pull this in and just in a more secure way kind of handle that all in a GitHub action. So on every push, you're updating your site. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of most of what we had today as a demonstration. Sorry about the sort of messy screen share there, but did that all came through okay? I couldn't see what was happening on screen. I was kind of trusting you to tell me if anything was not looking right.
I think that was super smooth, and the demo gods were very lenient towards us today. So yeah, very happy with it. It was even much simpler than I expected. I expected us to be in like 5 minutes of debugging at least, but it worked. So
yeah, so I'll take
nice.
it as my first ever attempt. So thank you very much, gods of live demos. So yeah, if anyone is interested in deploying their sites in this way, you can head to the starter kit. It's really easy, github.com/katana-network/special K. And then the guide that I showed as well, I don't have
so all of this can be found if you just go to katana.tools. The documents are there, the starter kit is there, and in the docs, if you just go to actually superdocs.katana.tools, all the information is there. So just superdocs.katana.tools. That's also on katana.tools. You can find everything in that directory, and the Arweave guide is there as well.
Yeah, amazing. If there are any Katana teams listening in the ecosystem that are kind of really interested in doing this, like, feel free to reach out to me. My DMs are open all the time. I'm sure Bruno, or maybe more specifically
I'm also
Billy.
available. Yeah, Billy is also in there. We have Katana devs on Telegram, just at Katana devs. Also, both me and Billy are in there, ready to help. So dive in.
Cool, awesome. And are there any kind of like specific calls to actions for folks at the moment around Katana that you'd like to kind of take a moment to share? Or
yeah, there's free money on the floor. All you have to do is come in and pick it up. So yeah, if you want to build DeFi stuff on top of the existing money Legos that are already available on Katana, this is your chance. The onboarding friction is completely removed. The yield is ready. The DeFi is ready. All you need is to build on top of things that exist. Just turn on your imagination and start hacking.
cool. And it's good for like anyone that's familiar with EVM. They'll get Katana.
Yep.
Amazing. All right, man. Well, it was great to catch up with you. Thanks very much for your time. Will I be seeing you in DevConnect?
Yes, sir.
Lovely stuff. All right. Well, we'll have to hook up with Billy as well, man.
Indeed.
You have a good day. That was really good fun. Yeah, feel free to reach out to either of us if anyone's got questions, and see you next time.
Yep. See ya. Thank you very much.